You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, Dave, I'm trying to make sense of something as we start off the Thursday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. Nick Alberga, Dave Pagnotta in for Jay Rosehill. Why was today the magical day to call up Michael Pezzetta for his Maple Leafs debut with a thought in mind that his former team, the Montreal Canadiens, were the opponent 2 nights ago? Like, why was tonight or today the decision to call up Michael Pezzetta? Please tell me. Indulge me.
Well, it's big rivalry with Anaheim that he needs to step up for. Clearly, right?
I don't get
We'll
it,
see
man.
if this is injury related. We'll see if there's a body that's not going to make it tonight. And that, injury. We'll see. I don't know. He was supposed to be I don't want to say bigger piece in terms of bigger piece, but he was supposed to be a piece, at least a factor so far this season. That's why they signed him. Nope, he was just down in the Marlies for pretty much the entire season. So maybe just giving him another look to see what he's capable of at this level with some bodies out now moved last week. Maybe that's the key to this whole situation. Or, like I said, somebody's banged up.
I don't buy it. Steven Lorentz not in the line rushes at morning skate. Pezzetta is going to fill in on the fourth line, and I did think of Ross Johnston too, but Alberga Jay was playing for Montreal tonight. It's just a weird decision. Like, you would think it just made all the sense in the world to put Pezzetta out there at the Bell Center against his former team, but no. Let's wait a couple days and play him against the Anaheim Ducks. Just a bit stunning to me.
I mean, look, was his energy going to suddenly shift the game? And the Leafs were going to win? Don't we want that? I can't speak. Don't people want the Leafs to lose? Isn't that the thing now? Just to tank and see if you can get into that top 5 to keep the pick? Wouldn't that make more sense? Maybe that's part of the equation. I'm
driving at yeah. I was driving more at the feel-good story. That's my.
There's no more feel-good
man.
stories this season. Let's be real. Come on. If you get a top 5 pick, if you fall enough to get a top 5 pick, or you win the lottery and you've got a top 3 pick, or you move up, however, you can only move up 10 spots. Either way, if you get into the top 5 somehow, that's the feel-good story because you've kept the damn pick.
Well, you know what's going to happen. We talked about this yesterday. The Maple Leafs are going to get a top 5 pick, at least projected to do that. Then they're going to lose the draft lottery. They're going to fall outside the top 5, right? Be careful what you ask for, man. There's just something Leafy's going to happen. I'm preparing myself already for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. The odds for everybody are slightly bigger. There was the news today that the Ottawa Senators, the penalty for them trading Dadonov with his no trade clause to Vegas, or that trade, that instead of forfeiting their pick this year, they automatically get the 32nd overall pick in the first round. So that came out about an hour or so ago that the league announced that. So if they're in the draft lottery and they win the draft lottery, the Sens do, it's a redraw. So everybody has enhanced odds to win the lottery, as opposed to it's just one team less. So, hey, maybe the odds are now in Toronto's favor in that regard, and some puck luck goes that way for them.
Okay, can you do a poll around the league and find out who's actually happy with this decision with Ottawa selecting 32nd overall? I would imagine there's going to be some pushback in the coming days. No,
I don't. I mean, look, the Sens were doing a lot to try to enhance their argument that it was the former regime's fault, that this group with new ownership and a new GM shouldn't be penalized for what the boneheads did prior. So they'll accept some penalty, whatever their first round pick is. Instead of 15th, it's now 32nd, and they have to pay $1 million fine, albeit Canadian, as part of this as well. So they're still getting penalized a little bit, but they screwed up and they should be penalized in some degree for it as an organization. But new ownership, Michael Andlauer, new GM, Steve Staios, saying we shouldn't be penalized for their stupidity. And let's try to make it fair. We'll accept some type of penalty. Just don't get rid of our first round pick. So I get it from that side, and I think people around the league understand that scenario, and I don't think there's going to be much more out of this.
I think it's stupid, personally. If you're going to take their first-round pick, you take their first-round pick, and I'm so sorry. I mean, you can make that case for anybody who, gets a job after the fact. You just you assume it with the role. But anyways, congrats to the Ottawa Senators.
They should be cleaning up the mess that the previous regime created, and, well, they're not fully, so whatever. I mean, for the Sens, good for them, but, who gives a shit, really? It's a 30-second pick.
Yeah. But this is not Sens morning take. Screw them. Quillen, Grew, and Pizzetta all in here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You could tell I'm in a really good mood today.
I was going to say, what happened?
What happened? The Leafs haven't won a fucking game since February 3rd. That's what happened, Dave. That's what happened. Then I found out yesterday. Let's get into the deadline fallout. There was a pathway where the Leafs weren't going to trade Scott Laughton. Apparently, this thing happened with 30 seconds left before the buzzer.
Well, they submitted it in the last minute.
Okay.
So they were holding out. There were other things in play. They were holding out for the best possible return. And the way the market shifted, it only led to them getting a third and potentially a second if the Kings make the playoffs. So they were trying to squeeze more out of at least one other team. It didn't work. So they said, all right, screw it. Let's just we're doing this before the buzzer. And they did. I don't know exactly the timing, but I think it was in the final minute where they were like, all right, submit. And that's what happened. They were planning to move those guys. They were planning to move like the McMann deal. I think it happened around 1:30ish, something like that. Like they were finalizing that trade. And there were a few other teams in the mix, like the Columbus, Colorado, Edmonton. There were a few others that were poking around too. But that was done much earlier than Laughton, which basically was right at the wire.
All right. Well, I'm just glad it happened. Scott Laughton off to a red-hot start here with the Los Angeles Kings, a team I think you're going to see next week, right? You're going to the Artemi Panarin revenge game on Broadway. Is that the case?
I'm actually leaving later today.
Okay.
The Kings play the Islanders Friday, the Devils on Saturday, and then, the Panarin revenge game Monday. So looking forward to all of those. Get to see Scott Laughton lighting it up on a different team now.
Great stuff. I was picking my schedule to attend for games in April to wrap up, and seeing Dallas on that schedule, just PTSD. I know he's hurt right now, but that Rantanen guy could have been a Maple Leaf. Our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. All right, you want to clear up some conversation from the deadline? Like, I got cousins in Montreal asking me for a Matthew Knies Habs jersey. How close was that? Was Knies really on the block? Like, what's the fallout from all this, Dave? I can't handle it anymore.
All right, so I believe that the Canadians and Leafs did discuss Matthew Knies. I think OEL was brought up at some point earlier. I don't think that's the player the Canadians were close on. I've gotten a lot of no's on that. That was the Hab target that Kent Hughes was referring to in a significant deal. So unless everybody is lying, it doesn't sound like Knies was the guy that the Habs were working on fully. Now, there were teams that were talking to Toronto all week about Knies. It was Tuesday morning that I got a text message saying, "You hearing anything about Knies' name out there?" And I said no, because at the time I didn't. And then later on that evening, about 12 hours later or so, I got a text saying, "Yeah, there's some fear there that Knies could be moved this week." And I think the reasoning behind it, I think the reasoning behind Toronto's willingness to listen is because the price tags for other guys like Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas were so high. And if you're getting the equivalent of 3 first-round assets back, then I think you have to consider it or look at it. And that was the price for Kyrou. It was 4 pieces for Thomas, similar to what Quinn Hughes got from Minnesota, which was 3 guys that were drafted in first round and then another first round pick. So 4 pieces. That was the price for Thomas. I think it was 3 of those pieces for a guy like Kyrou. And I think Knies fit into that 3-piece prong. And if they're a team willing to pay that, then you got to listen. And this isn't just exclusively futures. It would have been, my guess is 2 prospects that would be the equivalent to first round pick value that are either ready to make the NHL or are already in the NHL. So you're looking at guys in their early 20s. And if you're Toronto, and I've talked about this on the show before, and I've mentioned this all friggin' season, for a team that has 4 top 6 forwards, if you can replenish that and potentially get an additional one by moving one of them out, now you've got 5 instead of 4. So I think that's kind of where they were thinking, and why they were willing to listen was, is somebody going to overpay for this asset and make us not say no? Like, give us an offer we can't refuse. And I think that's why Toronto was listening. Again, yeah, the Habs were in on that. We know Chicago's had interest before this regime too, when Dubas was around. So it wouldn't surprise me if they kick tires on it, and it wouldn't surprise me if other teams do too. Seattle was looking for this caliber player. Utah's been looking for this caliber player. So it wouldn't surprise me if other teams either had entered the chat or will this summer, and then Toronto has to decide if the juice is worth the squeeze. Is this worth making in order to get significant value back? And that's why Toronto considered it.
All right, so 2 follow-up questions to that. Do you get the sense anything was even close on the Knies front? Is it something they might investigate coming up in the offseason? And number 2, do the Blues and Leafs make sense to get together on a deal? Like we just mentioned the names Kyrou and Thomas. That's where my head goes. Maybe it's just like a 1-for-1, or are those type of players involved in a swap? Would that be something that would interest both sides, you think?
So I believe so I don't think anything was close, A. And B, can they reconvene in the summer? Sure. If a team's willing to give you 3 first-round picks, or the value of 3 first-round picks for Matthew Knies, depending on what those pieces are, you have to consider it. With St. Louis, I know there was interest in Thomas, and that might be where Knies fits in. But Thomas is a better player overall, skill-wise. I don't know how much you have to add to that to make that happen. And then at the same time, is that the piece you really want? He's a center, but he can play the wing. If I'm Toronto, I would probably want, Thomas playing with Knies, quite frankly. So that one's a tricky situation. Like a Knies, Matthews, Thomas line. Whoa. Okay, now we're in business. But if Knies is part of it, then it's again, you're getting a better player skill wise, but you still have 4 first line forwards, and you still have to find somebody else, or you throw him at the center position and you play him with JT on the left, and either Nylander on the right or Cowan on the right or somebody on the right, and you move Nylander up. So if you want Thomas at the center position, and then you have Matthews and Thomas 1-2 or vice versa. But if you're dealing Knies, you're still you're putting yourself in a bit of a hole, or you're creating the same hole, but just getting a little bit of a better player.
I'm still trying to figure out how the Maple Leafs plan to improve themselves in the offseason. So Nick Schmaltz signs 8x8 with Utah. Dude, I might take July 1 off. I'm just going to hand things over to Zach, have fun with Rosie. I'm going to do something else, because I do not expect the Maple Leafs to improve themselves whatsoever in free agency, which leads me down the road where it's like, I hate to use this word, rebuild. I think the market in general is going to be so fascinating in this offseason, this summer, around the league. And if you're a team like the Maple Leafs, maybe looking to retool or rebuild or whatever R word you want to use, I think everybody's going to be looking to improve themselves. If you're the Leafs and the trade market's going to be the only direction teams can go to better themselves, you have to throw every fucking name out there. I'm sorry to break it, but just love your thoughts on free agency. Does Alex Tuck even get to July 1, you think?
Well, he's looking for $10.5 million per season.
Okay.
And, Buffalo's not been willing to do that so far. So
yeah,
maybe. They'll reconvene in the summer, unless they're figuring this out now, which I don't get the sense, but we'll see. There are, I mean, look, would Budenjenner, a healthy Budenjenner, benefit this club?
Sure.
Yes. Right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
you can add him if you
the
move
C.
Willie up. I mean, would he not, compared to what we've got here in Toronto? Yeah, you throw him on the second line and maybe even on the first line, because he has that physicality, something that the Leafs significantly lack in their top six. And Knies he's the big body presence, but he's been, hampered all season. Something's lingering for him, which he's also acknowledged. But you add Budenjenner to the mix, like that caliber player, sure, that would be beneficial. But there's going to be 20 other teams also in that mix. There's going to be 25 teams going after Alex Tuck.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to go after Darren Radish and give him $6 million?
Oh.
What if he gets back to being a 40-point player? Like, the last 2 seasons were good. You saw the incline. He's a point per game guy right now. And by the way, he has a laser beam of a shot. So the chances of him replicating 50 plus moving forward, I think is realistic for at least the first few years. But point a game, it's one sample size. He's having a hell of a season, and all the power to him, and go get your bank. But I would view him as a 50-point type defenseman, not a 60, 70, 80-point defenseman. But there are going to be a shit ton of other teams going after him too. So as much as you're going to be engaged in some of the pieces in free agency, Mario Ferrero, local kid, he'd look good here too. But any impact type addition has to come the trade route. And I think they're going to seriously look, I've talked about this before, seriously look at moving Morgan Riley this summer. We all know they're going to have a conversation with Austin Matthews. It's just who are the pieces having that conversation? Who are the bodies? Is it Tree? Got a little bit of pushback this week that it's set that he's staying.
That right? Oh.
Said it might not be a foregone conclusion just yet. They're still internalizing things. I don't think anybody would be surprised if there's a coaching change. But tiny bit of pushback on Tree. Now, again, everything I've been told indicates that he's coming back, and there's a reason why he was at the helm working the deadline. Right. So I guess based on that, I'd be a tiny bit surprised, but I was just told, not a foregone conclusion just yet. They still have to figure things out at the top. So whoever's there, if it's Tree or somebody else or Pelly and so on, they're eventually going to have a discussion with Austin to say, look, you got 2 more years here. Here's the direction we're going in. What do you want to do? And then go from there. But I do think they're going to discuss Morgan, probably going to have a discussion about almost everybody. Tavares not going anywhere. Nylander presumably not going anywhere because of his contract. Austin, you would think isn't, but again, you have to have that conversation. And then how do you fill some of those voids? I think you can fill one of your holes here on this roster via free agency. But you've got to be strategic as to who you're going after, and you're probably going to have to overpay because Toronto's not the most desirable place to play right now.
That would be the most idiotic thing ever if they decide to move on from Brad Treliving after allowing him to work the trade deadline. Seriously.
I agree.
I
agree.
I'm just relaying. I agree. It does not make sense. That would not make sense.
No.
Have we seen weird shit like this before? Yes, we have.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, again, going into the deadline after the Olympic break, everything that I was told was the leash is shorter, but he's going to be given an opportunity to fix this, or at least get this back on track, get it back into legit playoff contention. But again, we'll see. We'll see kind of what happens. We're not going to know anything until the end of the regular season in that regard. And even then, it might be a little too soon. But there are some people who believe the writing is on the wall for the head coach and the staff. But we will see. You got 17 games left of pain. So get through that and then kind of go from there. But it's going to be a very interesting offseason for this club.
Yeah, interesting is not the word I would use, quite frankly. At any rate, the Leafs Nation After Dark is coming up tonight with Zach Phillips, the one and only Leafs Ducks. Toronto hasn't won since February 3rd. I wouldn't expect it tonight. We can get fired up. Bo Grew, a revenge game, former Anaheim Duck, game 2 as a Maple Leaf. Michael Pezzetta. By the way, Dakota Joshua, as talked about earlier, not going to play in this game, at least the projected roster. They're going to have Quill in play. Makes a lot of sense. They're going to have Grew play. Makes a lot of sense. And Michael Pezzetta, I guess they selected Thursday, March 12th as the Maple Leafs debut for Michael Pezzetta. So Zach Phillips is going to have After Dark following the game. Coming up on today's show, yesterday, Rosie and I had a chance to spend some time with Joel Quenneville. Was he ever in discussion for that Maple Leafs job a couple years ago? I know Rosie and I were pretty firm in saying he was our number one target. We believed in Craig Berube. We still believe in him as a coach. I don't think it's going to work out here. But was Quenneville ever a part of the conversation to be Maple Leafs head coach?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I think I was asking the other guy in the podcast.
I thought we were cutting to the interview.
No, that's later on. Don't worry. We got time. I'm just previewing it.
Oh, okay. All right. Teasing it. My bad. I don't think so, to be honest. I think there was a conversation, but I don't know if he was down to the finish line. But if you asked him, hopefully he answers. I don't think so. Sorry, brain fart on my part.
All good. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, Q's coming up. This is fucked up. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Want to Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. This segment is brought to you by Table Fare and Social, the perfect spot to fuel up before the game or wind down after work. Located right across the street from the arena and just steps from Union Station in the Metrolinx bus terminal. Table Fare and Social offers a wide selection of food and drinks with space for large groups and a family-friendly atmosphere. Next time you're off to a game, check out Table Fare and Social, a downtown food hall right across from the arena for some great pregame bites and drinks. Curious to get your opinion on Bobby McMann and what he had to say to the Athletics' Josh Cloke, who did excellent work the other day, getting sort of a debrief to McMahon's time as a Maple Leaf. Quoted as saying, every team in this league is so exceptionally good that when you're not working as a cohesive unit all the time and you're disconnected, things can start to go south pretty quickly. I think guys are maybe overthinking things a little bit too much. How do we get this back rather than trusting the process in place at the start of the year? Is that an indictment, your read, on Craig Berube, the head coach?
Yeah, everybody's when you get into a bit of a shitstorm, you start second guessing yourself and you start second guessing the plan that's in place. You try doing too much, you're gripping your sticks, all whatever other cliche you want to add to it. It all factors in. And because you're second guessing every 5 seconds, it usually leads to poor results. And that's what we've seen this season. Do I think the Leafs are a better team than they've displayed? Yes. If you don't believe me, John Cooper said it the other night, right? Yeah. He said that this team, he thinks this is a one-off, for Toronto. So I do believe that the primary talent that's here, you add a few pieces, you can get back into wildcard contention and then go from there. But you need to get out of this mindset, this rut that you put yourself in. And this isn't just a Leaf thing. This just happens in sports and happens in the NHL as well, especially. So if you can get out of this, but you got to find a way to do that. And it seems like everyone's just waiting for the season to end at this point. And see what changes kind of come in to, because you're looking for some type of answer. And if you can't find it internally, you're like, all right, well, something's going to change. So let's just wait until that change happens. Right. And is it the coach structurally, stylistically? I don't think it works here. I think Craig Berube is a good head coach. I just don't know if what he's got, the assets that he has to work with, just don't fit what he wants to do and the direction that he's trying to put this team in and the style in which he wants this team to play. I don't think they have the pieces to execute that plan. So it's not like, if they do make a coaching change, it's not because he's a shitty coach. It's just, it's not a fit here and you can't trade 30 players. So as much as I believe there will be a decent turnover roster wise, if you do bring in a new head coach, that coach and that the philosophy behind that coach's style needs to equate to the talent on the ice. And then that's how you exploit it, by executing a plan, by utilizing the talents that you've got in order to make it work. The talent that's here just isn't working for his game plan, and that's where a change likely happens. But when you're in this rut, when you're second guessing, everything McMahon said is accurate, and that's the sense that a lot of these guys, the frustration boils over, and you just can't get out of it. And it's understandable. It's just it's shit for Leaf fans because this is the outcome.
I love John Cooper, but it's amazing to me how much play gets. And again, we're as guilty as any other show or podcast. Like, people not from Toronto who have never coached the Leafs or ever played for the Leafs are giving their opinion on the Leafs. And granted, we ask everybody who comes on this podcast, even if they're not from this market, their thoughts on the Maple Leafs. But it's hilarious to me. And then guys just piggyback off that. Like the wording, the message, I think you were there at practice on Monday, is that they're going to bounce back.
Yeah.
But last time I checked, this team doesn't have a McAvoy. They don't have a Swayman. They don't have a Pasternak. So, and there's no free agents this summer. So good luck. Good luck bouncing back next year, guys.
Well, and the mindset wasn't, they're going to bounce back. It was, they have the capability of bouncing back.
Okay.
Doesn't mean they're going to. Like, the talent's there. Like,
we
can't deny the fact that there's talent on this team, and that Austin's having a shit year, and Willie and Tavares, they disappeared. Like, remember the first 2 months of the season, Nylander and Tavares were top 10 in scoring, and then it just went to hell. I don't know what the hell happened, but it just fell out from under them. So, there's talent here, obviously. They're not a shit team. It's just they're playing shit right now. And again, it kind of just seems like they're just waiting for the season to end to kind of press restart and go from there. Which is kind of
at the Leafs Nation. Go ahead.
Pretty shitty mindset, quite frankly, but whatever.
You're telling me, brother. I do a daily podcast covering the Maple Leafs. You're around these parts quite a bit. At the Leafs Nation 4-1. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. About 10 minutes away before playing the Joel Quenneville interview here on the pod. But I'm really, really discouraged by the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, I just said, where is this guy? A 12-game goalless drought. 1 goal in the last 16, and God forbid anybody ever question the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs and what the hell's going on with him. But dude, they pay this guy a lot of money to produce and score goals. And granted, I'll take your argument that you're about to tell me he's got no line mates. Okay. But the last time I checked, every star player in this fucking league, doesn't matter who's on their line. It could be Chris Kunitz. They're going to rise up to the occasion. This guy's blending in. I called him Toronto's version of Elias Pettersson yesterday, if you missed it.
Oof. I did. Okay. Ouch. But fair.
Thank you.
Like the not having Mitch Marner argument only works if he's still scoring 30, 40 goals. And having Mitch or that caliber player puts you over the top to back to 50-goal form. Because you've got that facilitator to work with, at least a point a game. Like, that's the expectations that are on you. And when they're not there, when the numbers aren't there, the results aren't there, this type of criticism is fair, because that's the type of player that they're supposed to be. These guys are supposed to be point a game guys. Plus, they're supposed to be driving forces, and they're not. And you can have the right combination that's going to put you over the top. That's where the 100 points comes in, the 60 goals come in, and all that shit. But you still have to be able to produce. You have the talent to do it. Why aren't you doing it? Now, is there stuff they're not? Is he still lingering? Is there still something bothering him? I don't know. But you still have to be able to produce at a specific level. And the same thing goes for William Nylander. And the same thing, to a degree, goes to John Tavares. But if these are your primary assets, your top-tier guys, both Willie and Austin should be point-a-game guys. And they're not. And it's not simply because of who they're playing with. So should fans be disappointed? 100%. Absolutely. They're disappointed too, but we're not the ones on the ice. You guys watching, you're not the ones on the ice. These are the guys on the ice, unless they're watching right now. So technically they would be, but you know what I mean? Like, these are the guys that they're the only ones that can make this argument go away, and or this rant or whatever the hell go away by producing. So I think it's totally fair to criticize them for not producing, because this is entertainment, but it's also results oriented. And if the results aren't there, you should be up for the criticism.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly disgusted, dude. And nobody should be absolved of blame, anybody on this team, outside of maybe OEL. He hasn't been good lately either. Like, there's nobody on this team who has exceeded expectations outside of OEL. And I don't even, like, it's been that type of year where across the board. And my rebuttal to, yeah.
I would throw goaltending in that mix too. They've been decent. Joe was,
sure,
he's been good. It's just guys in front of him.
Well, he's never there. I mean, I'm still rolling with that. He could not show up tomorrow, and you can say that for every goalie in this league. It's not just Joseph Wall. But to my rebuttal to your point about Matthews, if he's not feeling it or he's not feeling good, dude, why are you playing? Why are you playing? And that leads me to my next question to you. Do you see a pathway? I mean, we're starting to see it, but it's guys like Steven Lorentz. I mean, how much of a difference maker is he truly in this Maple Leafs lineup? Do you see a pathway where we know Florida's going to do this in the next couple of weeks? Brad Marchand, I can tell you right now, he's not playing probably again this season. But are we going to see this from the big boys, the Knieses, the Tavareses, the Nylanders, the Matthewses, where it's like, you know what? We get that press release on a Tuesday morning, done for the season. We'll see you in September.
Wouldn't surprise me, because they should. If the season's done, take the extra time to mend and focus on next season. And honestly, and you guys can, chime away in the chat. Like, I think fans would welcome that. I think, and not just for like, even forget about the draft pick for a second. If we understand that this season's in the toilet, why wouldn't you want to take the extra time to rest? And I get it. Competitors, athletes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if the season's gone to shit and you're still ailing, why wouldn't you take the extra time to focus on next season, to kick some ass next year? So, I mean, look, coming out of the Olympic break, I think I was on DFO Live, and I'd mentioned that there was chatter that Marchand was going to go for surgery and be shut down for the rest of the season. It took a couple extra weeks. I guess they wanted to see if they had any chance of getting back into the playoff race. Didn't happen. He's not going to be the only one in Florida. Now that he's week to week is I think what the terminology is for the time being. But
okay,
there's 5 weeks left in the season. So as of today, like 5 weeks today, this last day of the regular season.
Mercifully, yes.
So, yeah, for some teams. So if it's Toronto and Matthew Knies is still not 100%. And I don't believe he needs surgery, by the way, for what's bothering him. But he needs a stretch to heal. And would you rather take that now so you can have a killer offseason and then try to kick ass next year? Probably be beneficial. If Austin's dealing with something, if Williams dealing with something, if OEL is dealing with, like, whoever, do it. If that's load management, NBA style, fuck it, do it. I got no problem with it.
I'm right there with you, partner. 8 straight losses, outscored 35-15, 2 regulation wins in the last 21, man. That stat will eat you alive as a Maple Leafs fan. But the positive news, again, things change quickly in this market. They're 5 points up on both St. Louis and the New York Rangers, who right now are 28 and 29 respectively. I don't even know if I'd use that word. Of 32 in this league with 17 games left. 1 of 2 against Anaheim in the next 18 days. But man, go look at their opponents. We talked about that to start this week. That this could get ugly. Like, it's already ugly, 8 games, but I could see it get into 12, 13 games here.
Oh yeah, like the schedule is not really in their favor to kind of creep out of this one. Now they can pull one out of their ass tonight after we say all of this and get 2 points. And whatever, but just looking at how the schedule maps the rest of the way, it's not good. And like I think it's just like, you just want to be real with your fan base. Like, and it's hard to make some type of announcement or proclamation with 17 games left or whatever it is when you're in the shitter the way you are. But, would it be beneficial to start making those types of announcements? And again, if these guys need it, like, they're gamers, right? Chris Tanev tried to come back. We knew he was having surgery at some point. He tried to come back because maybe there's a chance we can get back in the playoff race.
No,
it didn't happen.
No.
So he had a surgery, and should be good for next year. But like, he shouldn't be the only one. There should be other guys that, if this is bothering you, if this has been bothering you all fucking year, sit out, mend, have a better summer, and then go from there. Because if it's going to take you 2 months to feel better after getting whatever you need, whether it's surgery or not, whatever procedure needs to be done. Okay, well, now we're mid-April. You get it done. Now you're mid-June, going into July, and you could have had May and June to start getting back into action and get going. And yeah, you have your vacation, get away and clear your mind a little bit and all that shit. But give yourself extra runway. I would do that now. I think other teams would probably look at that going, that's not a bad idea either. For guys that are all banged up, give them the rest. And then you obviously have the added motivation of, that top 5 pick. So if you fall into it, then okay, there's your bonus.
That's another can of worms, because somebody like me doesn't foresee the team just magically getting back to contender status, getting back to playoff status. You're kicking everything down the road one year. That's also what concerns me, because Philadelphia and Boston. So you're telling me the next time the Leafs have a first round of their own, it's going to be like 2029, 2030. It's really concerning stuff. And I just want something positive to latch on to the last 17 games of the season. So I hope Pezzetta has a good showing. I hope Quillen continues to play strong. Ditto for Cowan, guys like that.
And I know, I don't think everyone will like it, but you look at teams like Boston, and they were shit last season. They were garbage.
Yeah.
And they got, 7th overall? Now, different story because of the pick. But anyway, and Hagens isn't even up here yet, so it doesn't really matter. But
soon.
They were shit. And yes, he's supposed to join the club after his Boston College season ends. But they were shit, and they managed to climb back out of this and are in a wild card spot right now. Now, they're in the thick of the playoff race, and I wouldn't be shocked if Columbus jumps them. But still, the shift and the turnover. So teams like Toronto and other teams like Winnipeg and others look at this going, all right, so let's consider this a one-off, and let's fix this for next season. And I know that's what Winnipeg's thinking, and I've got to believe that's part of the mentality with the Leafs as well, because in this league, you've seen it, rough season for Boston, much better year. Didn't go the way they wanted in Detroit last year, made some changes. Look at how they're doing. So that the shift can happen. It's just, while you're in it, it sucks. So I think the mentality is, if we make the right changes, we make necessary changes, we can get back to where we're supposed to be next season. So take whatever advantage you need now to get ready for that.
I'll believe it when I see it. Let's transition. I mentioned off the top, we talked about it a bit yesterday. Rosie and I had a chance to catch up with Joel Quenneville yesterday ahead of this game in Toronto. Let's hear now from Joel Quenneville. Enjoy. Well, Q, thank you so much for coming back to the show, back in the mix. How's it feel to be back in the NHL this season?
It's been fun. Been a lot of fun since started training camp there. I think, California's been nice to us, and we've got a really nice team. The crowds have been great, and a lot nice couple runs we've had over the course of the year. It kind of reminds me of back in when I first went to Chicago right off the bat. There's a lot of really young, talented guys, and we got a really fun coaching staff to work with as well.
And Q, you've just surpassed 1,000 games in the NHL. Congrats on that, by the way. But, over the span of that time, I'm just curious, when you think about winning in the NHL, what's the number one thing that comes to mind?
Winning? Well, that's why we play the game. I think that we've always had some really strong teams, been able to be around a lot of the best players that have played the game. That certainly helps in a lot of ways. And I think getting together as a team and doing the right things collectively to give your best chance of coming out on top is the fun part about what we do. And I think as a coach, finding different ways to get to that end result is what we're all about. And we got a staff here where everybody has a little bit of a niche, whether it's a PP and one guy's got the PK and you got the face-offs and reviews and then pre-scouts before the game. So it moves around quite a bit. Everybody's got responsibility. We share. We like to have fun like players, but we'll never have as much fun as they do, being a former player. So it's we keep it light as best we can, and knowing that when it's time to play, we plan for keeps.
Take us back to win number 1,000. I was actually watching that broadcast. What a crazy and chaotic comeback win, and it was wild. And I think it was perfect for win number 1,000. But it really felt like you were taken back after the fact when everything went down. Just take us and describe that emotion for us as well.
Well, the game was unbelievable. We had that game was a huge game for us with Edmonton, and it seems like we had 3 games almost exactly like that right after that. We were down a couple late in the game and ended up tying it or winning late or winning in overtime. It was nice to, had the family come on the ice after the game. I didn't know that was going on. I didn't know a lot of the things that they had planned, but certainly, it was nice, getting that achievement and moving on, knowing that we had a 9-game homestand, 7 after the Olympic break, coming out of it, one or two, and we'd be there. But at the same time, it was like, hopefully we'd have won it during that 7-game span, or I might have never got to 1,000.
Well, tell us about this Ducks team of yours. There's some excitement behind it for sure. What's been clicking for you guys?
Right now we got balance right now in our lineup. I think last night might have been as good as we played all year with basically our defensive game and our team game. Did a lot of good things. St. Louis schooled us 2 games ago, and I think we applied that lesson last night and did a good job of it. But we have our young kids are giving us some speed and some puck possession. We're getting our experienced guys are playing the right way. Everybody contributes in their own little niche and where they can help our team besides their 5-on-5 shifts. And our goaltending's been solid all year. We've got mobile back end. Comer last night had a really strong game coming off the Olympics there. He didn't get a chance to play there, but certainly he's one of those guys that brings the right attitude to a team. For a young player, his disposition is only going to get better, and the learning curve that he went through there, hopefully we can apply that down the stretch here.
Yeah, and I think personal assessment, not that you care, you guys have a nice blend of vets and young players and youthful enthusiasm, and that's what makes your team so great. And along those lines, you guys picked up a horse prior to the trade deadline, John Carlson. Can you tell us more about how that came together and how you plan to deploy John Carlson moving forward?
Well, we're excited to have him. I know that John is a great person, a great pro. His experience is going to be very beneficial for us down the stretch. And he can't wait to get playing. We're not going to see him tomorrow night. I think we'll probably see him at the end of the trip, Ottawa or Montreal, one of those games. And but he brings us some real steadiness. I think he can run a power play at the top. He's got a great shot, got good play selection, good patience with the puck, play recognition. When you have a couple of the greats in the game say the things that they said when he left Washington, speaks volumes for the type of person we acquired for our team. In a short amount of time here, he just fit in right with the guys here like he's been here all year. Likes the situation we have here as well. Real positive influence for the vets and the younger guys. So it's I just think that sometimes it can be hard on some people moving to a new situation. Not that he's had this opportunity throughout his career, but it's fit perfect short amount of time here for us.
Now, going through a trade deadline like that, Q, how involved are you as a head coach? Do you have any say in it? Are you kept abreast of what's going on, or do you stay out of it?
A little bit of everything. I think Beaker does a great job, but he's been the architect of the team. He knows what the master plan is, and he's got a group of guys, the managerial staff, that they talk a lot about options and things like that. And when what do you think of this option? And we give them our input as a staff when asked, and I think he makes some great decisions. I think he's finding that balance in that last year. I think they're pushing players out the door. This year we're looking to add a piece or two, and I think it was a good acquisition. We still got a lot of assets in our bank account, we'll call it, and at the same time we have some young guys that are still in the system that are going to come and hopefully in the next couple of years, just adding a couple more players that have high end potential. That looking forward to seeing these guys come aboard and can make us a deeper team as well.
To your coaching style, accountability is a big word used in professional sports. Never mind, when we cover the Toronto Maple Leafs on a daily basis. But in 2026 specifically, because I think things have changed a bit, what does accountability look like to you?
As a coach, our greatest strength or motivator or discipline way of talking to players is basically how you play them. And deploying them with ice time basically on a meritocracy basis, that you get what you deserve. The better you play, the more you're going to play. I think that's the best form of accountability. Players know what's going on as far as who's playing well, who's not playing well, and maybe that's and the expectations when they do that they get that reward, or they get they miss some shifts. So it's all works hand in hand, and I think that being consistent in that manner is the accountability from a coaching perspective. I mean, everybody has a different way of whether you want to get a message through in a practice or yelling or talking to people, or how you talk to people. We're pretty positive from how we reinforce our messaging, and then that consistency throughout the staff is in place. And we communicate how we talk to other guys and different guys, so we all know what's going on. And and people and the players in today's game, they want to know. The more information they have, I think they feel a little bit more secure with where they're at, and takes away some questions in their mind. And but you don't have to talk to them too much when you're missing shifts, or why you're missing shifts. I think they know why.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like through your coaching days, you've gone through different eras and generations. It's no secret that kids today are different than they were in the early 90s. Have you had to adjust your coaching style throughout the years?
I haven't really changed too much. I think the one thing is, though, today's younger players, they need a little more attention. They need a little bit more of the why we doing things, or what to look forward to, or re-emphasizing positivity and giving them confidence, and being aware of where they're at in their own game, and try to keep them in basically every day, trying to make something good of it, and bring that type of an objective each day they come through the door.
So Rosie had an infamous rant a couple of weeks back about iPads on the bench. I'm curious, as somebody who's went through a couple different eras, how do you feel about the iPads on the bench? What are these guys doing on those iPads?
I don't know. I don't know how to use them either. But we have a bunch of coaches that can look at them. Some look at them. There's some face-off situations where you're in the guy's hands, or what he's trying to do. And maybe on special teams, you're looking maybe a stick positioning on the front of the net coverage, or passing lanes. I know some teams do it a lot, and some of the top guys use it a lot, and some guys use it. This was there, or I did that. We do a lot of technical stuff, be it correcting on the bench, but I don't use video, and we don't really want to encourage too much video, but it's there. After shifts, I'm only looking for whether it's calls or things like that, but I'm not, I was never a big, we've never had it in my day, but at the same time nowadays, it's I'm very neutral on it. If you want it, you can use it, but I'm not really crazy about it.
Now, not to put you on the spot, Q, but the Toronto Maple Leafs season.
You look when you're looking at it, they're looking for sometimes you can look at it and say, they're just finding look, okay, I was okay then, or okay, that guy screwed up or whatever. But I don't want excuses.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Not to put you on the spot, Q, but the Toronto Maple Leafs season here has been nothing really short of a disaster. From the outside looking in, what do you see about the Maple Leafs? Were you surprised to see where they're at? And do you have any ideas on what you think went wrong?
Well, we got our own concerns here in Anaheim, but at the same time, I think everybody looks at, at the start of the season, how things are going to be forecasted. They're in the toughest division in the game. They've had 4 teams that have been in a position to be fighting for a playoff spot and looking to take that next step. And everybody thought the last 2 or 3 years they had already been there. And then all of a sudden this year, this is their year. And that's probably the primary reason why all of a sudden there's basically a change of basically the positioning of the teams, or when all of a sudden Buffalo, Detroit's, and Ottawa's and Montreal's are not fighting for a playoff spot. They look like they got them already, and now they might try to keep them or push. And so that's the basically the change of the guard there, and that's part of it. And the Leafs have been in there for years, and they're in the playoffs. The other teams have been loading up, and that can happen. And I think that's probably the biggest part.
And it feels like the same old debate is rearing its ugly head in this market about the media pressure. I'd love for somebody on the outside looking in. Granted, we'll get to the fact that you were actually drafted by the Maple Leafs, played several games to start your career in the year and a half with the Maple Leafs. But what's your stance on the media pressure and how heavy it can be in Toronto?
Well, I think the Canadian cities, there's obviously a lot more scrutiny, or when I say that, there's a lot more availability and opinions. And I think as a team and as an organization, as a player and coach, I think, you got to, there's certain days you got to answer questions, and sometimes you got to answer some tough questions, and you move on. And that's the way you got to look at it. And whether you choose to read or listen or watch, everybody, whether you're getting the negative end of it, hey, there has been 10 years in a row where they've been in the playoffs fighting to try to win a cup. And, there's been some good days. And I think that's all part of it when the attention goes where it's negative, and it's and then dealing with that is, you got to make sure that you face the music and work your way through it, knowing that, hey, it's part of it.
And looking at the Leafs right now, I mean, they're out of the playoff picture and still a lot of hockey left to play. Have you been in that position before? And if so, how difficult is it to coach and to play when that's the situation?
Well, I found that, and you'll find this year too, is every year there's at least a handful of teams that just play well without whether it's the trading deadline or there's no pressure, they just playing and they're having fun. And we had one of these amazing runs when I was in Hartford one year. We went on a tremendous run just to get in the playoffs. And, we lost to Montreal in Game 7 the year they won the Cup in '86. And then we didn't think we were going to make the playoffs, but you can get on one of these runs and you'll probably see one of these or two teams that'll make these kind of a push. And I think internally you try to have some incentivizing within your team. Whether it's playing young guys or playing this guy or trying some things. I find over the course of the season when things aren't going well, you got to do things differently. And whether it's a move or whether it's a special team move or it's decisions on lines or how much certain guys play, just the status quo is not working. So you might as well try something new, and you keep trying something new till it works. And I think that I think that there will be some teams though will find a way that they can make a positive stretch run where it's meaningful, not just getting on a hot streak, but making a change and maybe even grabbing a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think this time of year, guys, is so fascinating post deadline. And we talk about the Maple Leafs specifically, 8 straight losses, haven't won since February 3rd. How tricky can a game like that be when you know the opposition's been struggling, they're up against it, and they're due to break out at some point in time, right?
Well, yeah, we saw that firsthand when St. Louis came in. I know they won a couple of games before they came in and saw us, but did they ever give it to us at home? And I tell you what, we never touched the puck. It was the best game anybody played against us all year. So that gives you an idea what can happen when what it was a change in personnel or whatever it was around their team. They were they were excited about playing and they played with a purpose. So you got to be respectful for your opponent. There's no easy games in our league. A goalie can win the game outright. You got they take some foolish penalties. I mean, their power play can get hot. There's a number of ways where the outcome can be determined without thinking that hey, this is going to be an easy game. Plus, first of all, you never want to have that attitude going in against anybody at any time of the season. But we feel that hey, Toronto's got some great players. And we want to make sure that we build off of what we did last night, which was played probably our best game, and try to build upon it.
Way back when you were drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, does it feel a bit different even as a coach coming back to Toronto?
Been a while since I've been back to Toronto, and certainly I love going and playing there. I love a lot of family or friends are going to be around and at the game, and great memories. And we had I think the greatest comeback we ever had. Maybe I don't know if it's still a record, but we did have one amazing game that stood out when we were in St. Louis, when we were in Chicago, or when we were in Toronto down 5-0 in the third, and came back and won that game. It might be the record for the regular season best comeback, but we're so that was one memory from Toronto that I enjoy. But hey, it's never a bad situation when we're going to Toronto, no matter how the season's going.
Amen to that. And some people call it the Lanny McDonald deal, but I call it the Joel Quenneville deal. What do you remember about it?
It's not even close. I was definitely the caddy the whole time. He took care of me. Dad, I appreciated Lanny.
What do you remember about all that going down and what a year and a half in your career, right?
Yeah, for sure. We lived together, and then the next year his wife was when Ardell was around. I get fed regularly and family there. So we're bacheloring it up there for half the season there. So he took me under his wing. I was lucky.
Awesome stuff, Q. You're the man. Congrats, and on 1,000 once again. 1,000 wins in the league is no joke, and good luck in Toronto, okay?
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right, there you have it, Coach Q. And two of the best mustaches in hockey, of course, Lanny McDonald and Coach Quenneville there. But the Anaheim Ducks in town, and I guess we got an answer to Michael Pezzetta playing, right? They're going to look at some Marlies down the stretch here, Dave.
Yeah, which... I mean, I guess you should, right? You want to see what you've got in the pipeline and what's ready to make a full-time jump for next season, because it will allow you to make other moves. We know some guys aren't going to be back. Kelly Arnquist's not going to be signed and brought back, so this will be his, last stretch with the Maple Leafs, and we'll see some more trades and other guys not coming back. So take a look at Pezzetta, see if he can be a fourth-line threat next season, and then go from there.
Also, for anybody who's asking, I didn't do gym tan laundry during that interview. I don't know why, but dude, I looked like we were freshly back from Jamaica during that interview. Yeah. I don't know. That was yesterday. So
whatever lighting, whatever lighting you had set up yesterday, a little different than now.
Yeah. It's a glistening tan yesterday for Joel Quenneville, who usually has a really good tan, but clearly he's been on the road and hunkered down inside. And looking forward to seeing this Anaheim team tonight. It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. By the way, we didn't mention it. Joseph Woll is the projected starter for this game. I really don't care. I'm taking the over. I expect a lot of offense tonight.
Yeah. Give me a Carlson goal. Give me a Leo Carlson. Leo Carlson.
Yeah.
Give me a Leo
Yes.
Carlson goal. I forgot there's 2 now. And you know what? Give me a Cutter Gauthier goal. Give me 2. Taking 2
Okay.
anytimers.
Like that, Dave. And just to wrap, for some reason, people keep asking why Colonel Sanders is behind me in my picture. That's clearly you on the ice. I think Florida's first cup victory, if you recall. That white suit, is that still in the mix? The beige suit?
No, that's a very light gray suit.
It is.
I believe.
You're right.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, that's on the ice after Florida won the first cup a couple years ago. So no, that one's retired now because that's a one.
Oh.
Yeah, I wore it on air a bunch of times and stuff. You can't repeat it. So unfortunately, it lasted one playoff run, and that was the end of it.
Okay, yeah, no, I just wanted to get to the bottom of it. I guess it's like an inside joke in the chat, like Colonel's. I don't know. I don't understand it. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's edition.
It does
of
look
Leafs
white
Morning
from there,
Take.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, some picks hit a bit different than others, but I think it's a pretty classy picture of you, and that's why I'm rolling with it today. You just never know what's going to be in the background of my background. So there you go.
That's a choice, buddy. Yep. Interesting.
Definitely a choice. Good stuff today, my man. And thank you to Joel Quenneville for dropping by. I should mention as well, we've been pumping out shit this week. We caught up with Max Scherzer of the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. We're going to play that interview coming up tomorrow. So looking forward to that. And I guess you're off to New York, right?
Yeah. About 4 hours to go. Yeah, take off there for the weekend. Get to see the Isles, Devils, and Rangers against the Kings in all 3 games. So
cool.
Yeah, I don't know. At least one of them's a playoff team.
You're right. It should be some fun times behind the scenes anyways. Great stuff today. Thank you to everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button on the way out. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcasts. TheLeafsNation.com. Make sure to check it out. The boys over there pumping out some great content, even though they're very disappointing times right now for this Maple Leafs team as they play out the string. And 17 games to go in this 25-26 season. Again, Max Scherzer coming up tomorrow. Rosie back in the mix. We'll preview the back-to-back. Man, oh man, what a weird schedule. In Buffalo, then in Minnesota on the back-to-back. But we'll be back on Monday to break things down. We'll be back tomorrow to preview things. Thank you to producer Vic once again. Thanks to Dave Pagnotta. I'm Nick Alberga. Talk tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.